Hi there, we're here with Jack Canfield. We've been lucky enough to just grab him moments after he's presented a full day. So you're still full of energy, Jack. That's wonderful.
Thank you. I am.
Thank you. But here we are as a chance just to ask you a simple question, really, around leadership. Leadership critical wherever you go, in any place, any market, any industry. What, as a master that's worked with leaders across the world at the very top of their game, if you like, what may be a one or two things that leaders here in the region, the Middle East region, should be thinking about, and perhaps some thoughts on that, if you could?
Well, I've thought a lot about this because I do a lot of work in the area of leadership. In fact, I created an organization called the Transformational Leadership Council. And I think the trend that's happening in leadership, and what I'm about to say, this first part won't sound all that new, but we're moving from a command and control model to a model of coaching. And so leaders need to be people that understand, how do you coach people? How do you lead from the inside, from a psychological level, rather than just demanding? So we come out of the old military model where people that used to be generals would move into the corporate world and expect everyone to do the same kind of thing. People really don't like that. They won't settle for it anymore, and you actually lose loyalty. I think the biggest thing I'm seeing in leadership right now is that leadership needs to come from a transformational perspective, which basically says, I need to transform myself first. I need to be aware of who I am, what my blockages are, what my fears are, what my ego needs are, etc., and see if I can transcend that so I can show up, and instead of like kind of trying to control everything, find out what needs to emerge here in this moment that I can help bring forward so that everybody's needs are met, the needs of my board, the needs of my stockholders, the needs of my employees, the needs of my clients, my customers, my vendors. So it's a win-win-win-win-win, or triple bottom line they often talk about in terms of what we get done in the world. So I think there's a huge shift occurring, and I see it everywhere right now. In fact, we're putting on a leadership conference in April in the United States on transformational leadership with about, it's very small, about 30 or 40 CEOs of large corporations to come together and really look at this idea of transformational leadership. Because what we're now convinced of is that the problems in the world cannot be solved by the old ways of thinking. They really are requiring a new way of looking at things, a new way of presencing solutions that come from, let's say, a deeper place, a higher place that transcends. I think Albert Einstein said the level of thinking that created the current problems is not the level of thinking that you can use to solve them. And so I think that we're seeing a lot of leaders who are working on themselves, that are meditating, that are taking courses like Landmark and My Trainings and Tony Robbins and whatever's else out there, so that they are literally showing up more as people that are present, and in that state of presence know what to do, rather than coming from just their mind, but their mind and their heart together. And unfortunately, a lot of people that have sought power, leaders like to have power, it's often, there's three motives in life. There's power, there's affiliation, and there's achievement. And so what happens in leaders are often people attracted to power, some are attracted to achievement. But what we're finding is without that level of affiliation, which means relationship, you often end up with people that are, they lack the loyalty they would like. They lack the creativity, doesn't occur in the organization the same way. So we're saying now that one of the main jobs of leaders is to create a space in the organization that's safe enough where people feel safe making mistakes, they feel safe coming up with creative ideas, so that the creativity that exists in the organization can come forward. Because unfortunately, some of our best people don't feel safe enough to contribute. And so once we create a safe space where people can really show up on every level of the organization. I mean, I know that one of the classic stories, I don't know if you've ever heard it, was that there was a building that was made, and they realized there was not enough room in the building for the elevator. They hadn't planned that, and they couldn't figure out what to do. It was a lowly worker who said, why not put the elevator on the outside of the building? And now we see that all over the place. And so anyway, it's that level of creating a safe environment and nurturing people and reinforcing them to come forward that we get much more productivity and peak performance in the organization. So the leader has to be a visionary, leader has to be a good storyteller, leader needs to be an enroller, needs to be a coach. and many, many factors. Leadership is kind of a lifelong journey. And the last thing I would say is it's not just people in positions of leadership. We want to make sure that everybody in an organization becomes a leader and draw forth those leadership qualities from them.
Jack, I don't know how we could add to that, but thank you so much. I very much appreciate that you've taken some time for the leaders of the Middle East, and thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.